this morning, everybody. My name is Jeremy. I'm a believer who's in recovery and struggles with meth and alcoholism.
Hi, Jeremy.
That's the standard opening that we start with at Celebrate Recovery. You know, it wasn't very long ago that I sat in the parking lot here at New Cub for the very first time. I was angry and I was scared. I was angry for having to give up what I felt were my only sources of comfort, meth and alcohol. Scared because I, once again, had lost all control of my life. I knew I'd probably just pushed my loving wife too far, and for what I knew would be her last time. More accurately, our last time. My family's last time. My marriage had been in trouble for years by this point. I would come home, crack open a beer, and be asleep before dinner was even on the table. I had isolated so completely that Jennifer had to pick fights with me to get my attention at all. I would happily oblige her with erratic bouts of rage. We took turns picking fights and using our seemingly endless supply of anger to distract ourselves from anything that might make us feel, or God forbid, hurt. Our marriage just became one long string of degrading insults and shouting matches. I was physically sick and weary. I just didn't want to do it anymore. Thank God that it was right then that I just decided to make the decision to be done. But I couldn't have done it on my own power. You see, my very best thinking, conniving, and deceit had led me to this very place in my life. The very way I had learned to live my life had ended me up here. All my own systems of controlling, hiding, and monitoring, sneaking, had failed. All my attempts of getting clean or fixing my own marriage and by my own methods had failed, no matter how heartfelt, no matter how self-servingly heroic. Recovering from meth and alcohol is tough. I sat through in front of countless counselors, drug and alcohol counselors, who gave me the stacks and facts and told me that it was improbable, if not near impossible. Meanwhile, everyone that I knew, that knew Jennifer and I, were giving up our marriage the same prognosis. That it was beyond help. That divorce was the best solution. My friends didn't offer platitudes or comfort. Instead, they offered me the numbers to the lawyers that they had used for their own divorces. Thankfully, those same drug and alcohol counselors suggested that I start attending a 12-step program. And that is where I heard it for the very first time. A message of hope. I heard hope in meetings of CR. And not through some sermon or lecture, because believe me, I went to church all my life practically. I've heard the message of the Bible and all that stuff, and as smart as I think I am, it just didn't make sense. It sounded great, sure, but to me, I was the living proof that it was impossible to live. No, the hope I heard came in the faces and the words of the people here and the caring of the people here at Celebrate Recovery. People who were real. Not at all like the bright and shiny polished people that I went to church with growing up. People that care enough to leave those massive denial at the door. Who love each other enough to be real. I saw people share their lives once on the brink, where I was at that very moment, and how God had helped them restore their lives. Not to how good it was before, but from the ashes and the wreckage of what it was, He had restored their lives completely and gave them a new life, one that was better than they could have ever even imagined. Marriages torn apart, not just from addiction, but from life itself, all restored. At first, I wanted to come to CR just because the people were so nice. And I didn't have anyone that treated me like that in a long time. You know, I really liked not having to act like everything was okay. This was a place where I could be me, the real me, the one I hadn't even seen in years. My wife, Jennifer, had started to see the changes in herself, and needless to say, she was confused. You see, like me, she had bought into the lie that people can't change. She started coming herself to, And somewhere along the way in those 3 years of being here, God came into our lives to work. And I have remained sober, and my marriage is now stronger, happier, and better than I could ever imagine it would be. CR just isn't an alcohol and drug program, Life Again program. Living a life how God intended, instead of just how I ended up, of the one that I ended up with. Coming through the doors isn't an admission of guilt or proof that your life is jacked up. Coming through those doors is just a way of saying, enough, no more. I'm drawing the line here. It's bad enough. It's a way of saying that you're sick and tired of being sick and tired. If I can be so bold to say, this thing on your back this morning, whether it be porn addiction, perfectionism, an eating disorder, anger, whatever it is, I promise that there's healing on the other side. All you have to do is show up. Thank you.